Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, pleased to be joined by Mitchell Breuer, of course, who has covered NASCAR for a long time. How's it going, bud?
Going good. How about yourself?
Doing well. So, we haven't had you on in a while, so I figured I'd get your reaction to a bunch of things that have gone on to a lot of this stuff. Let's get some news today. Of course, was announced that Chase Briscoe will be back for a few years or many or a long time at Stewart-Haas Racing, as it was described in the press release today. Be in the number 14 car for a long time. That was announced today as he signed a contract extension. Obviously, details of the contract were not disclosed. But overall, this is a pretty big move.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is a big move for both parties. Chase Briscoe, it wasn't that long ago that he was looking for funding for a full-time Xfinity Series ride. And now he's full-time in one of the best rides in the NASCAR Cup Series. That's huge news for Chase Briscoe. And obviously, I think he's deserved it. I think last year really proved it. I won't say he was on the levels of Christopher Bell breakout season, but he had a good season himself, and he was dang close to being in that championship for last year. And I think this is a big move for Stewart-Haas Racing, a team that, like, its identity is kind of unknown after this year with, like, Kevin Harvick leaving. Who knows what Eric Almirola is going to be doing? And Ryan Preece, I believe, is only a one-year deal, kind of a prove-it deal. Chase Briscoe might be the only guy left at this stable after this year, which is just fascinating. And I think this is going to be one of the very interesting things to watch moving forward. And I think this is I would argue this is even bigger move for Stewart-Haas Racing than it is for Chase Briscoe, which is crazy. But, like, Stewart-Haas Racing is in desperate need of that, like, stability moving forward. And I think you're going to see Chase Briscoe sort of become that anchor-like driver for this team moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get your thoughts on this. The Fox broadcast booth, for Daytona was released. Obviously, more details to come on what their Xfinity truck and ARCA booth will look like. But overall, it'll be Mike Joy, Tony Stewart, and Clint Bowyer in the broadcast booth for the LA Clash and for the Daytona 500. For the next few weeks. Your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's perfectly fine booth. Mike Joy, obviously a legend in his own right, and I hope he does the Daytona 500 for the rest of time. Clint Bowyer, nice to see him back in the booth. And I think Tony Stewart is a guy where, like, you often see the criticism online where it's like, oh, you have guys like Jeff Gordon, maybe people have criticized that maybe he's too favorable to Hendrick Motorsports guys. I don't really think you see that with Tony Stewart. And I'm one of those people that would rather see, like, a neutral third party in there, not somebody that's affiliated with the teams. But, like, I think Tony Stewart did a really good job last year. And obviously, if there's one thing Tony Stewart's known for, it's kind of being unapologetically Tony Stewart. And I don't think you really get, like, a censored version of that inside the booth. I think you get Tony Stewart. So honestly, more Tony Stewart, the better, I think, for the sport. And, it's good to see him around and doing a lot more than just owning a team inside of the sport.
Yeah, owning teams. Remember, he owns an NHRA team and, he owns a racetrack too. And, of course, he's got Sprint and then the SRI, so that stuff.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I've wanted to get your reaction to this news for a long time, but I know that you've been trying to I know that this news has been coming up, but I got to get your thoughts on Frankie Muniz going to ARCA.
I think this is awesome. I think this is one, it's just a super cool story. Me and you both have kind of followed this one for a while now. And, like, it's cool to see somebody that's, like, dedicated to this, because everybody's going to look at this and make the Malcolm in the Middle jokes and everything. But, like, Frankie Muniz is a guy that really, really wants to do this. And he wants to prove himself as Frankie Muniz, the racer, not the actor. So that in its own right is super cool. The other side of this, and me and you both ARCA aficionados, this is awesome for that series. You're going to get a lot more people interested in this series just because of the Frankie Muniz factor in it. And I think that's just great to see for this series. There's a lot of positives with ARCA right now. And I think a lot more people need to see that. And with Frankie Muniz inside this series, now that's exclusively on FS1 and FS2, like, that's amazing to see. I think that's going to be I think this is a big win for everybody around, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he does this season. That 30 team, I think, was a little underrated last year. I think a lot of people are going to get caught up in the DNFs that happened last year, but them and their driver last year, Amber Balkan,
Yep.
they were not looking bad at all last year. There
Right.
was some times that she was running solidly in the top five. If they can finish those races, avoid the bad luck, I think they could be a team that could surprise some people, maybe even end up in victory lane. Who knows? But I'm very excited about this. This is
Yeah.
something that I can't wait to see Frankie Muniz in the starting grid at Daytona.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, of course. Let's get your thoughts on some of the latest ARCA news. We got you got let's see who's in let me tell you who's in this series right now. We have a fence company owner, a former college baseball player, a former child actor, a former pizza delivery guy, well actually a current pizza delivery guy, excuse me, and um a highway city patrol person, and just a bunch of other people that are it's just a bunch of people wanting to live a dream.
Casey, and we're gonna have a Minnesotan in the races in
Yeah,
some of these races in a good ride.
yeah,
And like not to like have any bias or anything like that, but as a guy from Minnesota, holy smokes, we have one of us in the field, Casey, in a good ride. And I'm very intrigued to see how William does with Joe Gibbs Racing this season. But looking at the full-time roster too, it's there's a lot to be excited about in this series. There's a lot of names that I think, and it's tough to even name them all because like, especially like between last few weeks, we've seen a lot of names that people may have been familiar with on the short track racing scene or the car scene or this or that are making this move to ARCA. And, it's very fascinating because you look at it and it's like, man, this person could win a couple of races. This person could win a couple of races. And a lot of these people aren't even full-time people. You got Jesse Love over here who's just chilling. I think he's kind of became an afterthought just because there's so many additional names in the series that are just like, this is going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be just like one car dominating all these races this year. I think this might be one of the more competitive fields that we've seen. And I think an important note with that I think a lot of people were nervous about this once you saw the Ty Gibbs, Sammy Smith era of ARCA end last season. I think a lot of people were nervous that maybe, well, the competition might be better. The overall quality of the field might not be as good. I don't think that's the case at all. I think we're going to have a very good quality of field, and I think we're going to have a lot of really good races where there's going to be a bunch of cars in the mix, and it's going to create for some interesting action. I'm very glad that's all going to be on FS1 and FS2 because I think getting this out to as many people as possible, people need to realize how good this series is going to be, and I think this year is going to be a blast for the ARCA Menard series.
yeah. I know you were excited about William Sawalich. It's actually who you were referring to. By
Mm-hmm.
the way, that is actually how you pronounce his name. It is Sawalich.
Swallowage.
Um,
Swallowage.
by the way,
I'm going to probably butcher it the next time I try to pronounce it, but
just ask Charlie; he'll help you out. So yeah, it's going to be there. Of course, I know that there's, and plus also Rhett Jones Racing also upgraded. I believe they've upgraded their equipment a little bit too. So that's going to be interesting. Plus, we got a lot of, yeah, we talk about all the teams that aren't going to be there, but there's a lot of teams that are going to be there too.
exactly.
AM Racing, of course, they're back. Yeah, of course, Rhett Jones Racing. You got who knows what Greg Van Elst is going to do. You got Jesse Love. Of course, you got Sean Higrani. Of course, he'll be running for the East Championship and some other races as well. You got the Venturini pipelines. It has been interesting the past few days. Amber Balkan. Got a chance to talk with her. She's doing Daytona and Talladega, but I think it's what are we? Because I think a lot of people are wondering, are expecting some good things out of her because now she told me this week she's got teammates now.
Exactly. And like that's a situation that I'm very intrigued on. And I know that she's made it public that it could be more than just Daytona and Talladega, but Daytona and Talladega are signed on right now. she's somebody that I think could easily go out there and surprise some folks. Because, like I was saying, and I give a lot of credit to Rhett Jones Racing for bringing a good race car, but she looked very impressive last year. And again, it's one of those things where people are going to look at the stat line and be like, "Oh, well, she got into a bunch of accidents." You go back and watch that season from a year ago. Most of those wrecks weren't even her fault. She was just in the wrong place, wrong time. I think, especially with that Venerini power behind her, and Casey, we both know how good those cars are at super speedway tracks. It's a joke of how good they are. Ty Gibbs couldn't beat them at Daytona and Talladega because they're just that good there. She could be somebody that could sneakily be one of those people to win Daytona or Talladega. And I wouldn't be at all surprised by that. She's got a lot of talent. I'm very high on Amber Balkan this year. Hope she gets more than just those 2 rides this season. I think that's going to be somebody to watch. I think she's a sleeper. And if we're talking here in about a month after the Daytona weekend, she's won, I'm going to be saying, I told you so, Casey, because she is going to be somebody to watch these 2 races.
Yeah, and I know she's talked about possibly getting more races on her schedule, so obviously keep updated on that. You got the ARCA East Championship, which is just as interesting as it is. We got William Sawalich, you got Sean Higrani. Of course, a lot of people don't know about him. He's from the West Coast. If you go on my channel, we did talk with him last week, so learn a lot about him. And then LeVar Scott, someone that's been on this channel before too. Actually, also William Sawalich was on this channel as well. What are we going to look like? What is it going to look like in East? And plus, we got a bunch of other guys that are also going to be in there as well.
I think this is fantastic for the East. And it's easy to say that Gibbs is going to go in there and dominate as they do. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case this year, though. And that's a great thing. I think it honestly kind of reminds me of the West Series last year, where, like, yeah, you had Jake Drew, who looked very, very good. There was a lot of competition in those fields, and that's good. We need to see competition in these fields. I remember back in the day when the East Series was full of guys like Chase Elliott, Corey LaJoie, Bubba Wallace, those types of guys. I think we're kind of getting back to that point with the East Series. I know it's been kind of a work in progress the last couple of years, but this is all very encouraging. And the other thing with this is these are all pretty young guys that are going to probably be around in the East Series for maybe beyond this season, which is also really good. Help develop an identity for that series and get more attention there.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really fun to watch.
Obviously LeVar is over the age of 18, but Sean Higrani is 16 and so is William Sawalich. So yeah, so they're gonna be in there. It's gonna be an interesting championship battle for sure.
1,000%.
Yeah, and obviously some West stuff will be announced in the coming weeks. I'm still piecing some things together. But
and the thing with that is you gotta remember the ARCA Menard Series West, they don't start for, I believe it's like a month after everybody else starts. So I mean there's some time to figure out some things there. I think everybody sees all these news
too.
I think there's a lot to be looked at there, and everybody sees all this news for the East and the National Series and looks at the West kind of curiously. But I'm not too concerned about that yet. And I think if it's anything like last year, they're in great shape.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mitchell Breuer, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and let's have you on again sometime.
Sounds good, Casey.